Hi, my name is Curtis Kernblunt. I'm a physical therapist for Revolutions in Fitness. I've got over 25 years of working with patients now, and one of the things that I work with and we work with a lot is runners, walkers, hikers. And today we're going to talk about a couple common mistakes that people make that lead to pain and injury and inefficiency. And I'll talk about a couple of common solutions for those problems. I've had some pain and dysfunction myself with running in my back and in my knees, and even to some extent my feet that I've worked my way out of, and I've gotten some help with over the years. So, excuse the cards. They just help me remember what to get in there. So we're going to talk about some common mistakes. The first is some postural mistakes and ways of getting better alignment in standing posture, and then taking that efficient standing posture into moving posture, walking, running, hiking. And then some ways of taking that posture with core and engaging our core in an automatic and efficient way to help our bodies produce power as we walk up a hill or as we run. So the first is, and we'll be posting this video in multiple places. Please pass it on to your friends. And if you saw the one on Facebook, this is a similar, but I'll be doing a little more here since I've got a little more space. And it won't be flickering. So let's talk about a couple of common mistakes and ways to get around them. The first thing is a little bit of education. If you think about some Jenga blocks for a moment, if our body is a bunch of Jenga blocks stacked on one another, how much muscle does it take for a set of Jenga block to actually keep a good vertical alignment? Not a lot, right? Our core muscles, our deep, small, little core muscles, not our rectus abdominis, our back extensors, but the small little transverse abdominals and multifidi on the low back, those muscles that are very short, are responsible for good posture and alignment when we're standing and when we're walking. And then our big muscles, our rectus abdominis, our back extensors, our quads, are responsible for actually the moving of us. So let's talk about posture and alignment. When those core muscles, those small muscles that are on the front of us, they go around us and that are on the back of us, when those small muscles experience an alignment issue, when, if you will, the blocks of our body, the blocks of our pelvis, the blocks of our torso, when those blocks get out of alignment, our pelvis tips forward, our torso tips back, our pelvis shears forward. When those blocks get out of alignment, we stretch on those very short muscles and put those muscles in an inefficient length-tension relationship. What I mean by length-tension relationship is all muscles work on this simple principle that if you get a muscle very short, there's not a lot of power up here. If you get a muscle very long, there's not a lot of power there. When the muscle is working through its mid-range, when those small transverse abdominal muscles or the small multifidi muscles in the back or the internal abdominal obliques, when the postural muscles get at a very long range or a very short range, they don't work very well. They can't produce power and they're slower to contract. So what I mean by all that is that, here we go, when our pelvic block is either tipped forward, or torso block is tipped back or shifted back, the transverse abdominals, these little multifidi muscles in the back, they're not able to engage very well. They're quite inefficient in their ability to produce power. So today we're going to be talking about aligning the cervical with the thoracic, with the pelvis, and then of course we've got the blocks down here of our legs, the two sticks we stand on, if you will, our femur, and then down below it, our tibia. So in an ideal alignment, our lateral malleolus, that outside ankle bone, is in alignment with the hip, the pelvis is stacked vertical, the torso is stacked vertical, and the ears over the shoulder. Now you see today for me that I've got a little bit of forward head. I've been doing a lot of telephysio sessions, sitting on a computer lately, and just not doing as much mobility as I'd like to. So we want all of these blocks nice and vertical, and it doesn't take a lot of energy for these little muscles of our core to hold us. This guy can almost balance himself without a lot of muscle. But when we start to tip back, it takes a whole lot of energy and effort. So what happens when we start to walk and run? Then we lean our bodies forward even with this good vertical alignment. We lean our bodies forward, our whole body forward, our trunk forward, and then we push off, as opposed to we get our torso behind us. So let's talk about how to do that. Here we go. So stacking our blocks. First, just get a sense of how efficient you feel if you stack your blocks and if you're not stacked. So if you want to get a sense of your efficiency and your current posture, I'm going to exaggerate a little bit here. This is a common posture people have. And I just drop my heels, and I feel how gravity goes through me if I let my heels drop. I can also get a sense of how well my core engages if I push on a wall, and get a sense of, okay, do I stay stable when I push on that wall? Does my core engage? Or when I push on the wall, does it push on me? If I go to pull open a door, does it pull on me, or do I pull on it? As I go to push something heavy that moves, does it push on me, or do I push on it? Last thing you can check here is just how well your core automatically engages if you hold on to something heavy. If I'm here, I feel my back compress. I feel a lot of working in my low back and my neck muscles. And if I'm stacked, which we'll practice in a minute, I feel much less. So here's how to work on some of that stacking. And I'm going to be this way to you so you can see my alignment or lack thereof. So the first thing we're going to do is you're going to look down at your toes. And if you watch me, when I look down at my toes, my pelvis comes over my ankle bone. Now I've got the two sticks of my legs aligned. Look down at my toes. As I do that, it also allows me to connect my pelvis and my lower rib cage. So connect your belly button with the bottom of your sternum, this little breastbone here. Pinky in my belly button, and then my thumb on my belly, my thumb on my sternum. So number one, lift up your toes and connect your lower sternum, your lower rib cage, to your belly button. That puts you on your heels. Number two, bring your pelvis over top of the middle of your feet. Kind of find your balance point so your center of mass, your weight is over your arches. Number three, relax your toes and see if that doesn't help relax your glutes that have been clenching, potentially. Certainly mine were a moment ago. Now, you look at me and go, wow, Curtis is really tipped forward. And that's true from here up. So the next thing I need to do is keep the block of my lower rib cage and my pelvis aligned. That's where my fingers are going to stay here. And bring the upper block, upper thoracic spine and neck, back over top of my shoulders. Now notice, because I'm stiff up here, my upper block has a hard time getting back, and my upper block, because it's tight, really wants to drive me into my usual posture. So make sure that you lengthen through your sternum, allow your chest to open up, but don't lose your rib cage. Don't let your rib cage flare out. Make sure that you keep your lower rib cage connected to your pelvis as opposed to disconnecting it and turning off your core. So keep your belly button and your sternum connected and allow yourself to relax and open through your chest. Allow your neck to relax in the front and back. Maybe even there's a little string on the back of your head allowing your neck to float back. So that actually gets now a much better alignment. And then finally we can reset our shoulders, but again, as you reset up a little, open, drop down, make sure that your shoulder blades are moving independently of your thoracic spine and your pelvis. Shoulder blades a little up, a little back, a little down. So here is now how I'm stacked. There we go. There's now how I'm stacked. And then I recheck and I go, wow, this is just so much more stable. If I grab my weight, and I've done this many times, I feel my core engage. And now we've got to move. Can you actually keep your alignment while you start to walk and run? Step number one, get the blocks aligned. Step number two is, can you move with those blocks aligned and your core automatically engaged because they're in an efficient position? So belly button, sternum, can you shift your weight side to side and keep that alignment? Belly button, sternum, can you actually start to take a step without overstriding? Can you take a step and land with your pelvis over top of your foot? Or when you take a step, do you lead with your foot and leave your torso behind you? When you land here, you've lost your position. If you land Here, now all of a sudden my core engages, I've got good basis support, I can push, pull, run, push on or pull from here. So, A, practice that weight shift. Can you stay aligned? B, leaning forward, maybe even lifting up your toes, leaning forward and take a step and land over your foot. Come back, leaning forward, take a step forward, land over your foot. A lot of this work and a lot of my learning has come from Chi running. Danny Dreyer's work is really exceptional, and it really talks a lot about that. Can you keep your body in a nice vertical alignment? You'll see here I've got this. My goal is to be here, lean forward, and then land, as opposed to here where my back gets a lot of compression and my core just can't engage. Can you lean forward and then take a step with your center of mass landing over top of your base of support? An automatic core response happens when your center of mass is over your base of support. Ground reaction forces will facilitate an automatic core response. Those words come from Vicki Johnson, one of my mentors, Vicki Silva Johnson, one of my mentors at the Institute of Physical Art. So alignment number 1, movement number 2, number 3, take a step forward, and then for those runners out there, you not only take a step, but you could actually work on landing with that step. And are you behind the step where all that force is going to come back at you, or are you over top of it? Last thing, we are going to work on some wall falls. So you've got your alignment, Can you fall against the wall? You fall against the wall and maintain that alignment. It's kind of like a functional plank. Falling against the wall, maybe lifting up your toes, making sure your head stays in line, and falling. So for me, right about there, my pelvis starts to drop forward and I rotate. My goal is to land, and for my elbows to bend without my back to bend. I'll say it again, my elbows to bend without my back to bend. For my arms to absorb the shock because my core is automatically engaged, and so that I don't rotate. So here's step number 1. Step number 2, lift up one leg, lift up one leg, lift up the other leg, lift up the other leg. And then you can see me start to do actually step number 3, which is come up on your toes on the opposite leg. Now as soon as I start to come up on my toes, I start to arch my back. Make sure that you're lifting up the toes, lifting up the heel without arching the back. As soon as you start to arch the back, you lose your alignment. And if you push on the wall here, I feel my core. If I push on the wall here, I feel my neck, my shoulders, and my low back. So in summary, working to engage your core not by contracting and clenching, but by good alignment and good movement patterns. And if you're able to maintain that, you then hit one of the common problems people get in trouble with. You eliminate the common problem of overstriding, whether that's walking or running. Many people overstride because they don't have good alignment. They're not keeping their torso vertical and then leaning. Just to double check to make sure I caught all of this. Just to say that we're here for you, whatever the time is. Shelter in place is what's going on now, but we'd love to chat with you, see if we can't help you out. We're doing real-time video analysis with people for their walking and running, and we just love to get on the phone and make a difference for people's lives. So reach out to us at our website, revolutionsinfitness.com. You can find a lot of YouTube videos linked there. And you can also find a lot of work on our blog at revolutionsinfitness.com. Thanks so much for joining me today. I'm always open to recommendations for other videos, and we're doing those to really support the community. Signing off, Revolutions in Fitness, and I look forward to hearing from you. Thank you.